Everbank is proud to sponsor the How-To series by the Real Estate Board of New York.
Hi, I'm Robin Abrams. I'm with the Lansco Corporation, where I'm one of the partners and head up our retail leasing department. I'm going to start by reading something because I want to be sure to make a few important points, and then I'll talk further about them. Commercial brokers focused on retail leasing rent stores. I've had people ask me, what do retail brokers do? Basically, we rent stores. Most of us focus on both tenant representation as well as landlord representation, but some do one or the other. Regardless, the goal is always the same: for a lease to be mutually executed between a tenant and a landlord, for the tenant to pay the landlord rent, for the right to occupy that landlord's retail space. Our role as a broker, regardless of who we're representing, is to bring the parties closer so they can ultimately agree deal terms leading to the making of a deal. Let's talk first about tenant representation, which I especially like to do. I enjoy working with the tenant, establishing a relationship, and understanding what their goals might be. That helps me to be able to best develop a strategy. All tenants, of course, want to be profitable, drive sales, and make money, but there are tenants for whom it's very important to build a brand. If they're going to be coming to the United States and opening a first store, it's important to establish the store in such a way that they have the appropriate co-tenancy. They're in a space that speaks to the ethos of the brand, whether it's a classic or a contemporary look, has appropriate ceiling height, signage, and other physical aspects. All of these things are very important for the tenant, as well as, of course, the economics. Once we understand where the tenant belongs and what the basic requirements for their space might be, size, and other physical factors, we look at a variety of spaces in different neighborhoods that might be a good fit. After we've looked at appropriate space, we narrow it down and determine which space the tenant wants to pursue. We then structure an offer or a proposal, also known sometimes as an LOI, meaning letter of intent. In this proposal letter, there will be basic lease terms, such as the address of the location, the size of the space, the proposed rental, when they take possession of the space, how long a lease term, what work might be done or the condition of the space, the security, and a couple of other minor things. We don't get into detail until we negotiate the lease. We get a response from the landlord known as a counter proposal to our offer, and we negotiate terms, or we eventually walk away from the deal if it's not the right fit. If we're successful, the next step is to get a lease, which the landlord's attorney drafts and sends to the tenant's attorney. As a broker, we are, of course, not an attorney, but we're involved with the parties in negotiating the deal, offering any assistance as needed to the attorneys, as well as, of course, with regard to design aspects to the architect and the contractor. We stay in the picture even after the lease is signed to make certain if there are any issues where we can be helpful, that, of course, we lend a hand. Then the store opens, and hopefully it's very successful for the tenant if they've done their homework and they've positioned appropriately. In other cases, we actually represent the landlord. I think the steps are a little bit different. When we're representing a landlord for a particular piece of space, we want to understand the landlord's goals, and they can differ. The landlord, of course, also wants to collect rent, but similar to a tenant, at times the landlord may want a particular kind of use because it sets the tone for the building and it affects the image that will be reflected to whom he can rent to upstairs and at what dollars. If we understand what kind of tenant the landlord wants and or at what kind of rental we can rent the space, we then go out and look for prospective tenants. We understand our comps and what the pricing should be. We put together marketing material. We reach out to both the brokerage community and invite them to bring tenants and cooperate with us, as well as directly contact prospective tenants that we think are a good fit. We then solicit proposals from the tenant broker or direct from the tenant if they don't have a broker. And we go through the same steps of issuing proposals and counter-proposals and leases and interacting with all the same professionals to get the job done and culminate with a signed lease. So again, I think that the final goal is for all of the parties to have a meeting of the mind and for the location to be a win-win for both the tenant and the landlord.